Hi, thanks for joining. So today we're going to be covering linear equations and factorization of quadratics. Okay, in this short guide, we're actually going to cover the steps on how to deal with any linear equation, no matter how it looks. So I'm going to give you the steps you can use and apply in any linear equation. So anytime you're solving for x, you're going to use these steps. So let's get right into it. So these are the actual steps. So the first thing we need to do, okay, number one is we look for fractions. Okay, so we look to see if there are any fractions in the expression, and if there are fractions, if we do have fractions, we need to get rid of them. Okay, and I will show you how to get rid of them in a few minutes. Okay, so we need to get rid of the fractions. Okay, that's the first thing. Now after we have dealt with the fractions, we are gonna look for brackets. So number two is brackets. Okay, so if we do have brackets in that expression, okay, we will expand them. Okay, we'll open them up. So expand, and finally, after getting rid of all the fractions and expanding the brackets, we finally can group the like terms. Okay, what this means is we put all the apples in one basket, separating them from the oranges. Okay, so we will apply these shortly. So next thing to do is to group like terms. Okay, and after you've grouped the like terms together, you can solve. Okay, you can add or subtract. Now people do make mistakes when it comes to adding or subtracting because of the signs. Okay, but we will get to that in a minute. So after grouping the like terms and adding or subtracting, the last and final step is to isolate the variable. So these steps do not change no matter what you are given. Okay, so take note of them, write it down so you do not forget, and we will apply them into the next questions. Okay, so in number 2 we have x over 3 minus x over 5 equals to 2. Okay, so this is what we are dealing with. X over 3 minus x over 5. All this is equals to number 2, and we have to solve for x. Now this looks tricky for most people, but for us, we already know what to do. We've got these steps. So first step is we look for the fractions, and once we find our fractions, we need to get rid of them. Okay, so we'll start by getting rid of this fraction over here, this 3. So we do that by multiplying the whole thing by 3. Okay, whatever we do on one side, we do on the other side as well, to keep everything equal. We'll multiply this side by 3. So that 3 will cancel that 3 out. We'll be left with x, okay, minus 3, okay, 3 times this term here will give us 3x over 5. All this is equals to 6. Okay, you see how we are working this out. Now we are left with one more fraction to deal with. We'll follow the same exact steps. Okay, we'll multiply the whole thing by 5. Okay, do the same on that side as well, and we will have 5 times x, which is 5x minus, that will cancel that 5, so we'll be left with 3x equals to 30. Okay, now next thing is to look for brackets, which we do not have. Okay, then after this we group the like terms, so the terms are already grouped together, they're already next to each other. Now the next thing would be to add or subtract. Okay, so 5 minus 3 is 2x equals to 30. Then we isolate the variable. We remove the number that's disturbing x, and in this case it's 2. So we divide the side and that side by 2. X is equals to 15, and this is your answer. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, these are the steps for linear equations, and they do not change. Okay, now let's move to something more difficult. Okay, so this is what we have in the next worksheet. So I'm going to skip the first 2 questions and jump straight into the difficult one. So we're going to work on number 3 and number 4. Okay, so number 3, yeah, it does look scary, but we've got the steps that we need to follow. So this is the question we have. Okay, so if you go back, we had 4 steps to apply on linear equations. Okay, now a quick note is that the first 3 steps can be applied in any order. Okay, so it's either up to you if you want to start by getting rid of the fractions, or if you want to expand the brackets or group the like terms. Okay, so in this case, I would like to start by expanding the brackets just to make things a bit simpler, a bit easier. So we're going to start by expanding the brackets. So 3 times 7x, okay, that's going to give us 21x minus 1, okay, minus 3 actually, all over 4. Okay, now when you notice a negative outside the bracket, that's going to change the signs that are inside. So we will end up with minus 2x, and that negative times that negative, or the negative 1 times that negative, will give us a positive 1 minus x over 2. All this is equals to x plus 3 over 2. Okay, so we've just expanded the brackets. Now we can move on and get rid of the fractions. Okay, so we'll start by getting rid of this 4. So we'll multiply every single thing by 4, and what we do on one side we do on the other side as well. We multiply everything on the right by 4. So 4 times that, this will cancel out. Okay, so we'll be left with 21x minus 3, okay, minus 4 times 2x, that's going to be negative 8x plus 4 times everything at the top. Okay, that's going to leave us with 4 minus 4x over 2. All this is equals to 4 times everything in there. So that's going to be 4x plus 12 over 2. Okay, this is what we have. We're just going to focus on getting rid of this fraction over here. Okay, so we'll multiply every single thing by that 2. Do the same on that side as well. 2. Okay, so 2 times 21, that gives us 42x minus 6 minus 16, okay, plus that 2 will cancel that 2 out, so we'll be remaining with 4 minus 4x. All this is equals to 2 times 4 is 8x plus that 2 cancels that 2 out, so we'll have 12. Okay, so this is what we have now. The next step would be to group the like terms, then solve. Okay, so now you are getting it. So we're separating them. So on one side we'll have 42x, okay, minus that 4, okay. Okay, so double check everything just to make sure mistakes aren't made, because it's very easy to make small mistakes. Okay, so we'll have this minus 16x, okay, minus 4x. Okay, we bring that 8 to the side, we'll be having minus 8x, and on the right hand side it's 12 plus 6 minus 4 once it jumps over to the next side. Okay, once it jumps into another basket. So we put all the apples on one side and all the oranges on the other side. Okay, so every time a number jumps into another basket, the sign change. Okay, it goes from negative to positive or positive to negative. So now we can just add or subtract. So on the left hand side we'll end up with 14x, and on the right hand side we will end up with 12 plus 6, that gives us 18. 18 minus 4 is 14. The last step is to isolate the variable. So we'll divide by 14, and our x is equals to 1. And this is how you do it. So you can see how we solved this big, scary equation. We broke it down step by step. So these steps will always apply no matter what you are given. Okay, in any linear equation, these steps are applicable. So one more examples on linear equations, then we move on to factorizing quadratics. Okay, so we're going to move on to number 4. Okay, number 4. Okay, so in number 4 we have 9x minus 7 all over 3x plus 4, and this is all equals to 3x plus 2 divided by x plus 6. Okay, so we have two complicated fractions. Okay, so this looks complicated and it scares a lot of people off. Okay, but no matter how it looks, just follow the direction. Okay, now this is what we have, and we'll start by getting rid of this fraction here. Okay, so we'll multiply everything by 3x plus 4. So on the left hand side it's 3x plus 4 multiplied by everything here. Okay, and we do the same on the other side as well. We'll have 3x plus 4 times this here. Now that cancels that out, and we'll be left with 9x minus 7 is equals to 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 4. Okay, that's what we end up with on the right hand side, all over x plus 6. Now we need to get rid of this fraction over here. We'll do the same thing. We multiply everything by x plus 6 and do the same that side as well. X plus 6 multiplied by that times this. Okay, so I run out of space and yeah, but we get the idea that that will cancel the multiplication, will cancel this out, okay, and we'll be left with x plus 6 multiplied by 9x minus 7 equals to 3x plus 2 multiplied by 3x plus 4. Now, this is easier to deal with. We'll simply expand the brackets, okay? So that times that gives us 9x squared, okay? Multiply that, we'll have 7x plus 54x minus 42, and on this side we'll have 9x squared. So we're just expanding the brackets here. So 9x squared plus 12x plus 6x plus 8. Okay, so I'm running out of space here, but you get the idea. From here we will group the like terms, and this is how it will look. Okay, so after grouping the like terms and adding or subtracting, this is what we'll have. Okay, so I just skipped straight to this step, but you can double check if you want. Okay, so if we add or subtract, finally we'll end up with 47 on the left, so 47x equals to 50. Pardon me, it should be 29 because we subtracted. Okay, so 29x is equals to 50. Then we divide both sides by 29, and our answer is 50 over 29. Okay, and if we check the answer, it matches. So the answer for question 4 is 50 over 29, and that is what we get. This is what we got by simply following the steps. Okay, so now that you know how to solve linear equations, let's move on to factorizing quadratics. Okay, now we have to factorize equations, and there are many ways to do it, but here is my favorite. Okay, and this works no matter what you are given. Okay, so we'll start by multiplying these two. So 5 times 6 gives us 30. Okay, then the next step will be to list out the factors of 30. So we know the factors of 30 is 1 and 30, 5 and 6, and finally 2 and 15. Okay, now we need to pick the numbers that will add up to 17x. Okay, negative 17. So we'll pick 2 and 15. For 2 and 15 to give us negative 17, they both need to be negative. So we'll write them as follows: negative 2x minus 15. Okay, plus that 6, and we bring that one down, 5x squared. Okay, we simply broke down the middle term. Okay, we broke it into two pieces over here. Okay, now next step would be to look at these two parts. Okay, so we're going to focus on this section and this section. What we're going to do is factor this section. So the common factor in this section will be x. So we'll have x, open brackets, in the brackets we'll be left with 5x minus 2. And on the next section, the common factor will be 3. Okay, so we'll have 3, and in the brackets we'll have 5x plus 2, and minus 2 actually, because we removed the negative 3. Okay, yeah, so negative 3 times 2 will give us positive 6. Okay, now we can see these two brackets here are twins. Okay, and when you see these two being the same, it tells you that you're doing the right thing. So what we are left to do is to simply group these and put them together. So we'll have x minus 3 close bracket multiplied by 5x minus 2. Okay, and this is how we factorize this expression by grouping. Okay, now if you like, you can expand it. So that times that gives us 5x squared. Okay, minus that times 2, that's 2x, minus 3 times 5, that's 15x, and 3 times 2 is positive 6. And if you notice, this is just the same as what we had before. Okay, they are related, so that's why I like this method. Okay, now moving on to the second example. Okay, so we need to factor this equation. So the first step is to multiply this and that. So 2 times 2 gives us negative 4. Now we simply list out the factors of 4, which is 2 and 2 and 1 times 4. Now as you can see, we have a negative 4, so one of these numbers needs to be negative. Okay, so we'll get to that. Now we'll pick the numbers that can lead us to 3x. Okay, and that's 1 and 4. Okay, now since we have a negative 4, one of them needs to be negative. In this case, the bigger number should be negative. Okay, the bigger number will be negative. Okay, so we'll write it as follows. We'll have minus 4x plus x. Okay, 1x is just the same as x, then minus 2 and 2x. Okay, 2x squared. Now we just broke this down again. We'll do the same thing we did at first. We'll factor this section, then finally factor that section. Okay, so the common factor in this section would be 2, so we'll have 2x actually, so 2x, and the brackets will be left with x minus 2. Okay, plus, now here there is no common factor. Okay, so we'll just have x minus 2. Okay, and as you can see, this is just the same as 1 being outside there. Okay, so these are the same, so we are doing something right. We'll basically group these, so we'll end up with 2x plus 1, okay, multiplied by x minus 2. And we just factorized this quadratic, and this is how you do it. Okay, so this will always work no matter what you are given, because sometimes we are given large numbers to deal with, and this is actually an easier way to do it. Okay, so thanks for watching. Now you know how to solve any linear equation and factor any equation, any quadratic equation. So that's it for today. See you soon. Bye.